Hey everyone, welcome to 40 Day Family Legacy. This is our primer series. It's the first 40-day series or journey in 2026. I am learning how to do this, so bear with me. Um, I did it the first time around, and guess what? I totally forgot to turn the sound on for my microphone. Turn my microphone on so you could hear me. So now we're going to redo the whole thing. So, yeah, here we go. So last time we talked about steering the fear, and that was what it was about. So you can go back and look at that video if you would like. So here we go with the next one, and I hope I can't see what you're seeing at the same time because the way my computer is set up. So I hope that everything is working. Um, okay, that's better. So how many of you have seen The Wizard of Oz? If you're my age, it's a childhood staple movie, right? So who needed courage in that movie, and what did he do to get it? Who did he look to find courage? Okay, so we all know it was the lion, and he looked to the all-powerful Oz. So, but even Oz lacked courage because in the end we find him hiding behind a curtain trying to look all powerful and intimidating. And so did that really do him any good? So what did he get instead? He literally learned that he already had courage, just as you already had courage at least one time you did. So last time we ended with we can use our faith to steer the fear. And we talked about how we can begin to break our chains. And I did the chain stitcher, and I had them both knotted. So a chain can hold you in bondage, or once they're broken, you can use it as a tool. And we can use those tools to strengthen our lives and family legacies. So now we're going to reach for the handle of the crank, and we're going to crank our courage, stitching new beginnings of a new creation. So God tells us in 2 Corinthians 5:17 that therefore if anyone is in Christ, he's a new creation. Old things have passed away, and behold, all things are new. So that means all things. So for example, and this is a different analogy, not a spiritual analogy. This is a literal physical analogy. For example, when I became someone new when I graduated from boot camp in the Marine Corps. So the fact that I am a veteran means at one time I had courage because I had to get on the bus to go to boot camp. I had to jump on the yellow footprints, and thankfully I did not have to go to a war zone. But thank you to all of those who have. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm not just saying that. I could not be here standing in front of you, choosing to do a video, choosing to have, a job of what I want to do, worship the way I want to do, if it weren't for people like you and those that are fallen. So we all, veteran and civilian alike, we each have a story, and each one of us is special to God. And our story is our special message, if we let it be, about what God can do in our lives. It builds our testimony. So I believe that you can make the changes and maintain them. I do believe that about people. Now we have a new creation long term, and we're fighting a spiritual battle, beginning with ourselves inside our home. And I think of my family as my fire team, and it's just my husband and I now. But my family as my fire team, and my home as my safe place or refuge. And I'm going to be very vulnerable here again. Sometimes we have to make drastic changes in our homes for them to feel like our safe place. For example, in my own personal life, it wasn't until 2018 when my husband and I bought our first home that I felt safe and peaceful in my own home. And then it was kind of funny. I felt so safe. I never wanted to go anywhere. Like that first year, and then even in 2020, um, I didn't mind staying at home. And my kids came to stay with us, and it was a really ugly year. I had started out having a bad surgery, and if it hadn't been for them being there, it would have been a lot more difficult for me. So that's a little bit of vulnerability about me. But as we crank our courage today, we're going to talk about step 2 in Prochaska's readiness for change. It's contemplation. That's all we're going to talk about is we're thinking about a change. So what were the 3 things that you wrote down from our last legacy primer that, you were supposed to think about for this week? So in this step, we're considering making the changes. We've not committed yet, and we're just thinking about it. So we've already steered the fear into courage, and we're aware that a change is needed within the next 6 months. It's all about baby steps. So I'm going to talk about baby steps for a second here and just say that I'm doing things slower in this series than most people do. Most people are all in a hurry to get it out there, get it on paper, and start. We're going to and do this, this, and this. I operate at a little slower pace, so if that is the kind of program you want, this one might not be for you. But if you can bear with me, we will make changes and we will start to change. That said, so baby steps. Okay, the first time I did this lesson, I actually wrote it for my grandmother's 1913 shuttle machine, which was also a crank. I don't have that one anymore. I have already passed it along to one of my children. So we're going to be, this one's sitting here for show, and I'm going to be telling you what I did with that one. So, and I'm not even sure if my grandma ever used that one, but it is a beautiful machine. But when I got it, the crank was bent, the handle. And so when I would turn and go down, it would hit, your fingers would hit the base plate right here. And it was kind of painful. So my husband and I, when we bent it back into place with, a little effort, and at times extreme effort. So as we bent that back into our place, we can bend our lives back into our communities and be productive citizens. We can take charge and change our being the way we are. With God's help, His word says that nothing is impossible. So we're the beginnings of a new creation. And I'm not suggesting by any means that this is going to be an easy task. And it's not going to happen overnight. Sometimes it does happen overnight. But sometimes it could even take a lifetime, the rest of our earthly lives, to fight the battle that we need to fight. But I can say, I believe with all my heart that it will be worth every level of effort that you put into it. Anything you can muster. And it may require providence and the help of God, the help of a community, the help of family and others. So in my grandmother's machine, when I got it, it had all of this gunk and everything inside it in the bottom. So when I opened it up, I filmed it, and it had all this stuff in there. So as I started to clean it, I was cleaning it from the inside out, and all the metal parts, we removed all of them. So the machine becomes very vulnerable as we do that. So when we begin to look inside ourselves to make these personal improvements and change with intention, we have to become very vulnerable to ourselves, maybe to a friend or a pastor, even to begin trusting God. I did not trust God for a long time. I thought I did, and I'm still working on it. Anything I say to you in these videos or in these little series, I am working on myself. I'm not preaching at you. I'm not teaching it to you. I am proactively working on it in my own life. So don't ever feel like I know all it or have all the answers, because these things I'm working on too. I'm just sharing with you some of the things that have worked for me as I have taken those baby steps. So then in the chain stitch, the legacy primer that we did last week, we learned that the first step is to take 100% accountability for ourselves. So we steer the fear through the cobwebs of our brain, of our thoughts, just as we clean the inside of that sewing machine. So I was cleaning out all that gunk, which we could think about as cobwebs in our mind. We can crank the courage, releasing the change within ourselves, and we can just keep cranking the courage. And this is what I want to show you how it works as we crank the courage. So it's backwards, so you may not be able to see it, but you just literally turn the crank and it pulls the fabric through, and then you come out with um, two squares sewn together like this. Whoops, I guess I didn't sew that one. Oh, I had two right here that are. Two that are sewn together. And then if you keep cranking the courage, you get a little row. And then after you get so many rows, so many on the row, you keep cranking the courage. And these are all these, each square could represent a change in your life. And if you keep on cranking and cranking, eventually you can get a block like these blocks behind me. That's the next little thing I have going on. So if you want to guess and add in the comments, what you think that's going to be or what lesson it's going to be, and go ahead and do that. And then if you keep on cranking, you sew all these blocks together, and eventually you get a quilt, which can protect you and keep you warm. And so each of these lessons are kind of built around a different sewing machine or analogy. And if you want to see, we all know what a quilt looks like for the most part, but if you want to see one of the ones that I've done, it's on the YouTube, and it's The Vintage Housewife by Lori Holt. I did a video a couple weeks ago of the final project finished. So there you can find that there. So within the word crank, I don't know, God gives me these little words within words sometimes, and I don't even really try. I just sometimes they just pop into my head, and I'm like, okay. So the word rank is in crank. So what do you think of when you think of the word crank? So if you're military or a veteran or whatever, you might think of the ranks in the chain of command, or even a civilian organization. So, but regardless of your rank or education, we can all take 100% responsibility for the changes or setting of goals for improvement. And I think of myself as a lifelong learner, whether we've been in the ranks of the military or first responders or civilian life. There's always a choice that we can dwell on the negative or the positive. So now let me say that I know there's a lot of people that have more serious issues than what I'm talking about here and what I'm being vulnerable with. But no matter where you fall, please, if you can't do it on your own, get someone to help you. Hire a coach, hire a counselor, talk to a pastor, even talking to a friend and being vulnerable to someone that you trust. If you can't trust someone, look for someone you can trust. Ask the Lord, bring a person into my life that I can trust. And we're all human, so we can't put all of our trust into any one human, because we're all human. We all make mistakes. That person, you can't put them in that high of a pedestal. The only one that we can trust in that sense, to that degree, is God and our Lord Jesus Christ. So I just don't want to set you up for failure by telling you to trust someone and then that trust is broken, because nobody's perfect. So that said, we have to start making changes. So we're contemplating it now, but you don't have to start with the biggest challenge that you have. So for example, I coached a woman one time. The deer had 2 babies under 2 years old, and she just wanted a shower every day. And we tried to put it into place where she could make that happen. Some of the things that a lot of us take for granted, there are others struggling for the very same thing. So for me, it could be as simple as eating a fresh fruit or vegetable every day. But then we can move on to something bigger. Like my next bigger thing was writing for a certain period of time. And a lot of it came out of creating the lessons and things that I'm sharing with you now. I finally did write them, but then it took me years to gain the courage to turn the camera on and be recorded. So it's been a growing process for me as well. So moving on to the writing for a certain period of time was way more of an intense goal or change than just trying to maintain eating a fruit or vegetable every day. So yours may look completely different than mine, and that's okay, because we're all different. We all are unique to Lord, and we all have our own unique story. So Socrates said, to move the world, we must first move ourselves. So one of the ways I move myself, another one of the ways is I move myself, and I shared in the Steer the Fear lesson that there were oils that I use for fear. And then for courage, I got three more that I really like to use. It's a mix of yarrow and pomegranate. And then the next one is spearmint and then juniper berry. And I usually just diffuse them. Spearmint have been known to put in lemonade. Really like that. So this week's challenge is I want you to figure out, what is it going to take for you to move, and how has awareness that a change is needed, how is that improving your life? And then go ahead and start thinking about, what change can you make to strengthen yourself, your family, or your community. And so some of us, we're working on ourselves. Some of us, we kind of already got ourselves a little bit worked on, and we're to the point where we can share with others what we're working on and maybe help them work on themselves. And so that starts in your family and then in your community. And then when will you begin? So for next week, be thinking about those. And next week we'll be doing session number 3. And I just want you to know, this has been so fun for me. I know that there's not a lot of you yet, but the ones who have been giving me feedback, I appreciate it. I thank you so much for doing what you're doing with me and helping me improve this. And I know as I start to, teach and I get a little bit more used to it and a little less nervous, that it should get better. And hopefully my videos will get better as well. But right now, this is what I have. And I thank you for being here, and happy family building.